Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're going to be doing Rising Sagittarius. As a little 12th house Sagittarius girl, I grew up admiring Rising Sagittarius people, and I'm really looking forward to this video. You guys were my idols. So let's get into it. First, I'm going to give you a little bit of background and characteristics as to what the Sagittarius ascendant looks like. Then I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the descendant and what that means in terms of relationships, what Sagittarius rising needs in relationships, and then I'm going to give you a celebrity example of a rising Sagittarius who I really love, and I know that you guys, being Sagittarians, will love him too. So let's get into the video. So Sagittarius rising is ruled by Jupiter, which is the planet of wisdom, philosophy, and knowledge. So all the interactions that you had when you were a little kid are what shaped your ascendant. And I like to think of the ascendant as the kind of little spacesuit that you put on when you were a child. And the reason you put on this spacesuit was in order to survive in this new environment. And for whatever reason, you needed to have this spacesuit that had these specific characteristics that were going to help you thrive in this new environment. So for that reason, your mom, your siblings, your grandma, anyone who was around you when you were a little kid, it was like they were like creating a quilt or patching on little pieces of that spacesuit and making it perfect so that you were going to do your best in that environment. So for whatever reason, that God, the gods, your mom, your dad, Jesus, anyone you believe put you on this planet, they decided that you were going to need those characteristics. And for that reason, you left behind everything that deals with Scorpio in the 12th house. And this becomes interesting if you're a 12th houser. So if you have a lot of planets in the 12th house, why did you leave them in the 12th house? Why didn't you bring them to the first house? I'm going to be making a video on that later, but for now, let's just talk about the rising Sagittarius and what that means. So what did you leave behind in the 12th house? So you left behind commitment and you traded it for exploration. In case you didn't know this, Scorpio is a very obsessively committed sign. So Sagittarius, no, Sagittarius is not obsessively committed. Sagittarius is more about exploring. And I don't say that in a negative sense because I'm a Sagittarius. I understand the positive sense of being explorative. So you left behind commitment and not being married to one specific idea in order to explore all of the ideas and really gain wisdom from exploring. You also left behind emotional intensity and you traded it for philosophy. So whereas Scorpio is a very emotionally intense and emotionally involved sign, Sagittarius is not. And Sagittarius really is more about observing the world and taking things conceptually and philosophically and looking for the silver lining, and Scorpio takes things more personally. Sagittarius does not. So you traded going deep, like Scorpio does, for going broad, like Sagittarius. Scorpio digs and digs and digs and digs and digs in one specific spot. Sagittarius is not about that. Sagittarius is more like treading lightly with their little hoofs, their little hoofs all around the world, and really taking in the scenery wherever it is that they go and absorbing all the knowledge that there is to absorb there and taking it and processing it and making a part of who they are. That is the Sagittarius way. Sagittarius left behind feelings and traded them for intellect. So whereas Scorpio is more of a feeling type of sign, Sagittarius is more intellectual. Sagittarius doesn't like to have feelings. Sagittarius doesn't want to acknowledge that they have feelings. Everybody has feelings, Sagittarius. I'm just going to throw that out there. But sometimes you do ignore those feelings in order to intellectualize them and really take a philosophical approach in regards to whatever it is that you're going through. So whenever you're in your room and you're comfortable and you're eating a bag of potato chips and you look like a bag of potato chips and somebody walks in, somebody that you don't know, that's when you put on your ascendant. So your ascendant is that exterior shell that protects you and really allows you to do only certain behaviors. Let's talk about what your outward appearance looks like, what your outer personality, your social personality looks like, Sagittarius rising. So your social personality is very cultured. Sagittarius rising people, they really look, to me, very refined and like they've traveled. They look like they've traveled. Even if they haven't traveled, they look like they have. They've traveled somehow. They have gotten into the small corners of the world, either through books, through classes or through actually traveling. These people just really like to absorb all the cultures of the world, and you could just tell. It's the first house, it is their physical appearance. You could just tell from encountering these people that they're like that. They also look very experienced. Sagittarius rising people, Sagittarius period is a sign that is concerned with knowledge through experience. So these people really wear that on their physical body. So they're kind of experts at whatever it is that they're into. What you're into is going to depend on what your chart is configured like, where your other planets are. But whatever it is that you're into, Sagittarius wants to really be an expert at it. And they want to do that in order to teach it, because they also have the archetype of the teacher. I like to think of Sagittarius as a professor. Their outward personality is also very philosophical. As I already said, the reason why they like to experience so many things is because they like to add more and more nuance to their philosophies on life and the world, and they like to share this information with anyone who will listen. And they're usually very wise people, so people do tend to listen to them. And they also have a very friendly appearance, Sagittarius rising. And this is useful because you're very open, and because you're so friendly, people are more prone to approaching you, and you seem very approachable. You're also very optimistic, and again, this has more to do with the whole looking for the silver lining in things and looking for the philosophical teachings in any situation. That is a Sagittarius way, so of course you're going to be optimistic. So your Sagittarius rising is like that little spacesuit that you're wearing, and that spacesuit has a filter, and that filter is the way that you look out at the world from the first house, and the world looks back at you from that seventh house. So I like to think of that filter as the lens that you use to look out in the world. And for Sagittarius, I really feel like their filter is kind of like those vintage cameras, like those 70s cameras that are like groovy and they look like the cameras that an explorer would use. That would be a Sagittarius rising lens. To you, Sagittarius, the world is a place to be explored, experienced, and known in order to share your experiences with others. As you explore the world, Sagittarius, you really get to know yourself better with every new avenue that you go down. And as you learn more about yourself and you share that knowledge with others, you really become multifaceted. And I really feel that the Sagittarius rising person, their spacesuit is kind of like, imagine the spacesuit and like it having a lot of patches from all the places that they've been, all of the courses that they've taken, all of the philosophies that they really know, because Sagittarius really wants to know something. They really want to know. And because of this, they become very knowledgeable in their areas of expertise. Remember that your ascendant is also going to be modified by any planets that you have in the first house. So if this doesn't resonate entirely with you, remember that you have to think about the first house and any aspects that are being made to the ascendant. And overall, that you have to look at the entire chart in order to get a really accurate portrayal of the ascendant. So now let's talk about the descendant. So the descendant is that seventh house. And in that seventh house, you really house all the things that you deny about yourself. It's kind of like your repressed personality. All those repressed traits that you have that you're just like, oh, I don't like that quality in another person. Oftentimes it's because you have it in yourself, and because it's not you shove it into the seventh house and you really put it on other people. It's just like, oh, I'm not gossipy, other people are gossipy. So for Sagittarius, the seventh house is in Gemini. So what is it that they need in a relationship is going to have a Gemini flavor to it. The seventh house is really the place where you get to experience those behaviors that you don't like in other people. You really get to let them out there. And you get to talk about nonsense and being really funny and crazy and just being a little bit like jesters. That's the place where you really get to explore that Sagittarius. So with a Sagittarius descendant, you really want variety. And I don't want to be offensive because I've read for a lot of Sagittarius rising people, and I'm always afraid to say that they want variety in partners, so they want a lot of partners. And I never want to say that because I'm a rising Capricorn, so I'm kind of reserved and I don't like to seem like I'm judging them or anything like that. But Sagittarius people are like, oh girl, you could say it. I've had a lot of boyfriends. And I'm just like, oh, okay, so you said it, not me. So Sagittarius rising people, and see, and I know a lot of rising Sagittarius people that have Scorpio in their chart, so they didn't have a lot of partners, but I'm just gonna say that you're gonna need variety. So you're going to need a variety of partners to really experience life and really get to know, take short trips, get to know your town, go to social gatherings, get together with friends. All of those types of things are the things that you need in a relationship. Or if you don't have several partners in your lifetime, if you've got a lot of Scorpio in your chart, a lot of fixed energy, and you're just a one-man type of lady, you really are going to need a partner that you could really talk to and somebody that you could explore different things with. You want a partner who you can have fun with, that is always on the go, somebody that is not boring. You would hate to have a boring partner, just like a very like meat and potato sort of dude. Rising Sagittarius is not going to be down with that. They're going to need somebody to have fun with. They're going to need a little partner in crime sort of person. Communication is going to be very important for you in relationships, Sagittarius. Not just talking about your philosophical opinions and ideas and experiences, but just somebody that you can just chit chat with and spend time with. So now let's talk about Bruce Lee. He's the ultimate rising Sagittarius because he was also Sagittarius sun. So whenever you have somebody who has the sun conjunct the ascendant, they are really putting that energy out there into the universe, and it is very easy to see. So he is a more emphasized version of the Sagittarius rising, but he's the ultimate teacher philosopher who really lived his craft and shared it with the world with confidence and passion. And that is a really Sagittarius thing, sharing things with a lot of confidence, and the confidence that comes from being knowledgeable, that is very Sagittarius rising. And Bruce Lee, I think, is really the master of doing that. So I'm gonna pop up some pictures of him because he is a very beautiful man. But just overall, Bruce Lee was an amazing martial artist who got into Hollywood, who made movies, and really transcended to becoming kind of like a symbol at this point. Whenever I think of Bruce Lee, I think of just ultimate knowledge and strength, and really he brings together a lot of Eastern philosophies that weren't really well known in the West, and he really brought those philosophies here to us, made them just common knowledge for especially martial artists here. But I think that because his work, his movies just transcend time, leave that Sagittarius imprint on our minds and the collective altogether. So I think that is really beautiful, and that is really what Sagittarius can do, is teach everyone, because they are very passionate, and for some reason passion is very compelling to others. So whenever somebody is speaking about something and they're very passionate about it, for whatever reason, that just, it makes us listen. So that is what Bruce Lee did. So this quote says, "Knowing is not enough, we must apply. Willing is not enough, we must do." So as I said, Sagittarius is very much about doing. They really want to live their philosophies, and they're the type of people who, they are very preachy, I will say that. Sagittarius rising people can be preachy. Sagittarius can be preachy, period. But the only thing that I'll say is that they do practice what they preach, because part of them really fully knowing something involves them actually doing the thing that they're talking about. So that's why I give them a pass whenever they're being very like get on their soapbox and being very preachy. I'm just like, well, at least you do practice what you preach, or at least you know what you're talking about. If you're going to like, you know, talk down on me, I would hope that at least you're an expert at what you're talking about. And very often Sagittarius people do tend to be experts at whatever it is that they're teaching. So that makes it a little bit better. Another thing about Sagittarius that is really beautiful in Sagittarius rising is that they're very honest with themselves and with others. So they're not afraid to mess up. And this Bruce Lee quote really reminded me of that. He said, "Mistakes are always forgivable if one has the courage to admit them." That is a very Sagittarius thing, because they don't take themselves too seriously. And I know I'm here going on and on about how they're very experts and they're going to talk down to you and they could be kind of know-it-alls. And even though all of that is true, Sagittarius is the first one to laugh at themselves. They don't take themselves very seriously. That's what makes it a little bit allowable for them to be that way. Last Bruce Lee quote is, "Absorb what is useful, discard what is useless, and add what is specifically your own." That is very much a Sagittarius philosophy. All the fire signs generally tend to be very independent, And this is really what I think adds that element of making things personal for Sagittarius. So they really are putting together a life philosophy that is going to help them live the best life and share that knowledge of that philosophy with others. But not only that, they're really making it their own. And that is what I think makes other people admire them. I know for sure that's what makes me admire them. So that's the video for today, guys. If you liked it, make sure you give me a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed, subscribe to my channel. I put out astrology videos every single week, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.